Making predictions is what we are going to be talking about today. We're going to go over what to look for to make predictions, and then we're going to have 3 practices at the end so that we can practice making predictions. Our learning objective is to anticipate what will happen next based on the text. You can also do this with movies. It's very fun. So making predictions involves anticipating what will happen next, and this skill helps keep the readers engaged in the story or movie, and it also just helps create new challenges for the plot and for the characters and what's happening. So a few techniques. Pay attention to foreshadowing. So remember, foreshadowing is where they leave little clues for us before we find it out. They're the little clues. And then we want to consider the character's past actions and behaviors. So what little sprinkle of clue that's like, hey, that's a little odd. That's not normal. That's not how that character acts or behaves when something like this happens. That's usually a little bit of foreshadowing sprinkled in there. And then use your knowledge of similar stories or real life situations. Now, let's do our first practice. Tom was nervously pacing back and forth. He spent weeks preparing for the school play, and tonight was the big night. As he peeked through the curtains, he saw the auditorium filling up with people. Suddenly, he noticed that the lead actor was nowhere to be found. Okay, so if you're having a play, I'm sure you've done a school play or something similar where you're part of this production. Okay, and if one person is like missing or doesn't show up, that's kind of scary and it'll freak you out. So let's look at what do we think's going to happen. Tom may have to step in and perform the role. And since he has been practicing for the play and he's been up worrying about it, Tom might have to take it over, right? He might have to do that job. So that'd be pretty scary. I would freak out, but it's something that might have to happen. All right, let's look at another one. Sarah had been studying hard for her math test all week. On the day of the test, she felt confident and ready. However, when she got to school, she realized she had left her calculator at home. All right, so if you're allowed to have a calculator in math class, that's pretty cool. We were not allowed to until we got to algebra. So, but I'm old. So what do you think Sarah will do next? Is she going to text her mom and ask her mom to bring her calculator, or a family member? Is she going to do bad on the test because she doesn't have a calculator? Will she borrow a calculator? These are all things that we think about. So now let's see what some of the answers could be. She might borrow a calculator from a classmate or the teacher, and that's pretty common. Like if you forget a pencil, your teacher will usually give you a pencil. You might have to trade a shoe or something so that she gets her pencil back. But usually borrowing it is going to work. All right, now let's look at our last practice. The storm was getting worse by the minute. Jake and his family were huddled in the basement, listening to the wind howl outside. Suddenly, the power went out, plunging the room into darkness. All right, so what do you think Jake and his family will do next? And why do you think that? So if the power goes out, I know what happens at my house when the power goes out. We start looking for candles and everything. Usually if we know that there's going to be bad weather, we have those out beforehand. That way we don't have to scramble. Use our phone flashlight, things like that. That's what happens at our house. That way we can see and not run into things. Now, let's see what some of the possible answers are. So they might use flashlights or candles to see. And why would they do that? Because using flashlights or candles is a typical response for a power outage. Like, we usually know that. If you have a lot of them, you might have like special generators to take care of that situation. But so those are some options on practicing foreshadowing. All right, my class, my kiddos, go ahead and open up your worksheet and let's get to work. If you need the worksheets that my students work, I'll leave the link below so that you can use them. Alrighty, until next class.